Hola, ¿cómo estás from the Galactic 0 Point, Costa Rica? Wow, what a morning. First of all, I started, thanks to my star brother, Marcus, we've been setting up these videos. I've been getting on Mondays and Fridays at 10:44 a.m. Eastern, 8:44 Costa Rica time. And also we added Wednesdays at 4:44 my time, Costa Rica time, 6:44 Eastern time. And we're just bringing in the transmissions, bringing in the cosmic revelations, bringing in the cosmic disclosure, bringing in more of a galactic understanding of our reality, a deeper understanding of time and space, the fantasy and the reality of that, and what we call sci-fi, that's and science fiction versus like the truth. And so the more we start to come out of the closet and talk about the real deal and how we understand, our histories and where we come from and our makeup and the mathematics of this reality, and the quantum mechanics of this reality, the quantum physics, the holographic nature of this reality, the more we can start to come together in a similar consciousness and expanding our mind through the limited language learning models that we have been born into, that continually, are creating and breeding corrupted bloodlines that are destroying humanity and allowed to be controlled by their minds, right? We've got to take our bodies and our minds back. Not to create any kind of sense of emergency, but the reality of what we're playing out in the Star Wars right now is a battle for your organic soul. It's as simple as that. No fear here. Let's get clear. If there's a battle for my soul, how do I maintain my soul? How do I make sure I'm not selling my soul? How do I come correct with that? How do I get into the knowing of that? Because if you're not in that awareness, it's very easy for things to just kind of slip by and not even realize it. And it can be a tricky reality out there sometimes on all levels. And so to have that discernment, to have that shield, to have that knowing, to have this level of awareness so that you are in a healthy level of preservation of yourself. And also, when you start to remember who you really are, you start to turn on that DNA beyond a limited 2-strand reptilian-like human that's reactive and a victim of emotions and their sexual nature and their carnal nature. And it's like, whoa, you're way more than that. You are actually an advanced civilization, always have been, fell very far down, fell asleep for a minute, been in the middle of the Clone Wars. And it's like, this is our ascent. And ascension is just about awareness. And so I want to bring something that's quite far out there, but it can seem and sound far out there. Like if I would have heard myself talking not so long ago, I would have thought, what the? And now I understand the responsibility of being able to touch those planes of consciousness and then like communicate them in a way that we can start to digest, this information. What is ascension? What does it look like? Let's get real about it. This isn't just some fantasy stuff. This isn't just a UFO and an alien in Roswell. We have an entire history on our planet that's connected to Star Wars. We have an entire history of breeding programs, cloning. That's what colonization actually is, cloning. It's crazy. The money here in Costa Rica, it's called a cologne anyways. And it's just like, I mean, we think because we heard about like the first cloned sheep so many years ago that that was the first time cloning ever happened and that it was only with animals. No, this is the fall of Atlantis. We're rewriting the fall of Atlantis. What was the fall of Atlantis? Like it's taught like it was 12,000 years ago on an island that disappeared and nobody really knows. It's like just this deep mystery. And it's like actually there was an entire timeline of Atlantis, which I actually connect to Tartaria as well. Like there's an evolution of a timeline that mixes some things, and we might have some imagery of what Atlantis looked or felt like or is because we're in it right now. But the summaries of the stories that I started to hear when I was awakening to my curiosity, so you just awaken to your curiosity, right? Like you go from like, I'm a human, I'm driving a car, I'm going to the hospital, I'm working all the time, I'm paying bills. And then you're like, who are we and where did we come from and why are we here? You know, it's just like bloop. And you start asking deeper questions, right? Besides like who's playing football on Sunday. And and you know what's on sale at the market, you know, where am I going to get my 50% off coupon? And yeah, it's like wow. I see, this is why I don't lose hope in humanity, because I understand like at any given moment you can literally like bloop awaken from your slumber. Anybody can. Now you can't force it. If somebody would have come to me trying to tell me a bunch of stuff, I'd be like, okay, you know, they have to come to you. When people are ready for the cosmic disclosure, they come to you. And they're able to pick up what you're putting down, you know, but we are resonating at new frequencies. And so we trust that anyone and this is like something that I'm very passionate about is authentic embodiment. You know, authentic embodiment. When you are authentically embodied, you start attracting beings that either are also authentically embodied or they're on their way and they want to be authentically embodied. And that is something very important in equipping ourselves in these new 144 frequencies on the planet. It's full embodiment. So there's no personal importance. We're all the one. We're the law of one. We're like one equal balanced starship or colony, you know, we are a team, we are a family. There's the wound of separation, the law of one, the Luna, like collective consciousness. Like we're starting to understand we're still very much our individual selves because we're like a puzzle of 144 just to start, right? You could add 3 zeros, but we're just going to go with like 144 12 times 12. Let's say that this is how we play with fractals and tipping points in consciousness. And so now we go from the shift of like everything we do for ourselves versus like everything we do is on behalf of the fractal. What I purify is for myself, of course, my family lineage, of course, the entire fractal, because the entire fractal is my child, is my mother and my father, is my family. And so like to take on that level of collective experience, collective connection, while not losing your individual aspect. We're calling everyone to be their full authentic expression. And within that, there's like many diamonds of the self that come together and make a collective puzzle. You know, this diamond sun DNA, this diamond consciousness. And it vibrates at the frequency of like a heart crown planetary high heart chakra. And so I see diamonds and emeralds just kind of beaming and gleaming right now as I'm speaking this through. And then like really bringing that crystalline, those like very royal, you know, like if you think of a golden crown that has rubies and sapphires and emeralds and diamonds. And yeah, almost like this ancient royal essence of something if you were to physicalize it. But actually, it's so non-physical. It's what I'm talking about here, this royal plasma that's very fluid. This is the vocabulary of the future human being. This is how we start to put together and understand how we're working in quantum fields, quantum mechanics, how we're working in plasma, electromagnetic frequencies. We're not getting so caught up in the externalization of something versus like, first and foremost, there's like the freedom cells in the body. Like we're feeling the bliss. we're feeling something that is oneness and whole and unity within the self, right? That is the healing of all trauma. To really hold that holistic field, to remember that that gateway is open and available to you. And so then we can come down in full physical embodiment, you know, and use this human vessel as the living light that it is, as a messenger of the truth that it is, and, you know, accomplishing whatever it is that you came here to do, which you remember deep inside you. It's written inside you, whether you cognitively remember it or not. Your soul and your body's remembering it. One way you might start to recognize, because you don't have to put it into words, and like, it's to shift your purpose that you thought your purpose was based on growing up and being, you know, born into a limited operating system, you know, of like, you go to doctors, you go to restaurants, you go to schools, you go to work, you know, you go on airplanes. Like, there's nothing wrong with that reality. There's just also, like, not so long ago, we bilocated. You know, not so long ago, we could phase in and phase out of realities. Not so long ago, we didn't need passports or aluminum, oil-fueled airplanes to travel. Like, you got to crack through the mind a little bit. Hola, sister. Crack through the mind a little bit to perceive that these dimensions aren't so far away and they're not so long ago. And I find it interesting, actually, tomorrow is the 4th of July in the United States. And so that's considered what's called an Independence Day. And yeah, wow. You know, in Gene Key 55, it talks about faking freedom. It's like, yeah, I guess when you grow up with a history about slavery and more primitive poverty, sacrifice types of histories, it could make somebody feel like they're free, you know, because they got a job and they're working and they're paying bills and, you know, they have enough money to buy food and stuff like that. It's like, but again, we're kind of like, we're wanting to remember a time that wasn't so long ago before that. And the more we start to awaken to this history, the more we start to reveal this mystery. This is a 55. Okay, so this is the master key code. If you haven't read Gene Key 55, go check it out. You can look up Gene Key 55 PDF. It's the longest gene code in the book. And it's talking about, it's from victimization to freedom. It's the freedom code. And it's, the victimization of the emotion, blaming and complaining, basically. So once we've moved beyond that, we've done that inner shadow work, we've done that emotional healing work, we're coming into the awareness of that, we're able to purify ourselves and hold bigger fields. You know, we sit in the center of the toroidal field of creation. Yes, we used to be that in unity, speaking for myself. Then the hijacking started to happen, and so we started to ground and build foundations. We can't leave the earth. 3D has to be harmonized as well. We're still traveling by planes and still have to travel kilometers and pay for petrol, tickets, etc. Yeah, I understand that for sure. I know that in my personal experience in the surrender experiment, it was like I was called to step out of all those things and kind of speak from the other side of the rainbow, but understanding like there's a spiral and there's a process. And yeah, I guess holding the field of that fractal remembrance. I mean, I wouldn't have expected that I would be in a situation like I am right now, but that's just like, I think we're all starting to get pretty aware of like, we don't force anything. We're in total surrender. We're in service to the divine plan. We live to tell. We understand that we're here for a mission far greater than ourselves. And then it's like, you kind of, at least in my particular situation, I jumped off the cliff, you know, and it led me to this space that's like, beyond the monetary systems, beyond the governing systems, beyond paying taxes, beyond bank accounts, beyond identification, beyond giving giving anyone authority over me. Extreme as fuck, actually. I'm not in resistance to a return of some sort if necessary, but so far, like, I stay so unattached to the mission. We all have different missions, right? And so you'll know because you'll surrender to what feels right for you. And the same time, we're transmuting old frameworks, old structures, old limitations in the mental plane, old constructs. Time is one of the big ones that we're really here to, that's been manipulated, and we're here to manipulate the timing construct. History, chronological, linear time, consecutive, like, we're starting to awaken to the memory that quantum isn't just a fantasy, and quantum happens in the no time and the no space. Holographic can't just be a word that we throw around like, oh, we're holograms, but then like we're holding on so tightly to a physically manifested reality. It's like the vaporization, the liquefaction, the fluidity of the quantum field. It's quite an initiation, to be called from a very physically manifested monetary reality to something beyond the ethers, And so I speak from that place where I know I'm a human, I have a human physical body, and I am also perceiving realities beyond time and space while being able to, multi-dimensionally exist here on this plane of reality and stay grounded in that, but also like bridging worlds. Actually, today is a World Bridger Day. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me see what's going on with this 55. Oh, this is pretty funny. This is my ascendant, actually. My ascendant is Pisces. This is a Pisces code. Victimization, freedom, freedom. It's the only code where freedom is the gift and the city, the 55. We can't chase freedom. We can't run out and sell everything and drop our dreams and become a monk or hermit drifting about. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm not calling myself a monk or a hermit. Well, I am a hermit. I'm designed that way, but I'm coming out of closet. Okay, we have no choice, no chance of dropping our dreams. We have to be so patient. Freedom will come on its own without our doing anything. We have to live as a human with all the trappings and trimmings. And from within that, our freedom will arise. Yeah, being my ascendant, and just the number 55, and the idea of a freedom code. It's not like I read the book and started following it. It was like already happening. It was a story written within my cells. I am a direct experience of the dragonfly's dream and moving into a new world and the new creation. And so there is like this drawing of a line of some sorts where it's like, all right, I'm stepping over this one. And I'm moving forward for all of creation. This is actually a planetary reset. This is a planetary restart, but not in reaction to the so-called disasters or Armageddons that technically they've already happened. So we're like beyond them now. We're beyond the Armageddon timelines. They're just hijacks and fear and control and losing and all of that. So we're in the building of a new creation, right? We're in timeline creation. We're in the future, and we're navigating the future for all of humanity through our embodiment. And so we just trust our role in that. We trust that we'll be called in what might feel like sacrificial or confronting situations of letting things go. It can sometimes feel like you're dying. That's called death and rebirth. That's death and transformation. And in tropical astrology, I'm speaking from a very scorpionic design, a very Pluto-like design of full death of something, complete burning down of it. that is the archetypal shift of the scorpionic frequency. We all have access to this, right? Maybe you've heard of it before. You know, in the scorpionic way of, there's like four levels to the Scorpio. It's like at the baseline, the Scorpio is jealous, reactive, angry, biting, and poisonous. And you could think of, I've had many friends come to visit me here in Costa Rica, and some of them have had a little scorpion bite, you know? And so then eventually you graduate from being, you could say in the 55, a victim of your emotions, the snapping, the reacting, right? Into the gift of, or the next level is the snake. And you're seeing the snake as a little more of a smooth flow, you know, a little more grounded. And then you eventually graduate into the eagle, right? So you're like kind of flying up in the sky. You're taking more of an eagle's eye view. You're kind of levitating a little bit beyond the weight of the lower nature, of the lower planes, of the lower emotions, of the lower mental, right? And then you just like, the next level is the Phinix. So you've burned it all the way down to the ground. It's a complete ashes. And, you know, we can talk about that idea, but to actually go through the fire, you know, that's the initiation. That's the mystery school. It's not a mystery. It's available to anyone who's got the willingness to do it when they're called. Is everyone called to die and rebirth themselves? I don't know. You'll know. Death isn't as bad as you think. You know, it's my job to bring that in and to help us understand it's a part of the the ascension process. It's like, see, the religion was teaching a dude hanging on a cross with blood dripping down his body and then he disappeared kind of thing. When the true ascension teachings that would embody the masculine and the feminine would be about a death and a rebirth. You know, and the actual resurrection is that the death we die to sin, to the lower nature, to the old idea of the self based on the limitations of the programming of the reality that we were born into. And this is how we start to expand consciousness, expand awareness, open up 12 dimensions. If we're going to talk about dimensions and portals and stargates, these are not just fantasy terms. And so what are the mechanics of starting to move and live in those ways? You know, it has a lot to do with no attachment to the material plane. But, you know, I was on a session yesterday with my friend. I was talking to him about parasites. And I was like, parasites will always be trying to talk you into needing them and wanting to keep them around because they don't want to leave. You know, a parasite's feeding off of your energy. It doesn't want to leave. So it's going to try to talk you into keeping it around. You know, and the same thing goes with the material plane. The material plane tries to talk you into keeping it around, the need for it, the hooking in of it. And so it's, you know, here we are in the World Bridger Day, which is about death. It's guided by, it is the death. So I can feel like I'm talking so deathly right now. But this is the transmission for today. This is the World Bridger transmission. So it has a lot to do with understanding the fundamentals of death. And don't get it twisted. This isn't about suicide and taking your life. You know, I had a friend reach out to me on the verge of suicide, and I told her, I love you. I can't talk you out of this. You have to do what's right for you. But what are you trying to run from? Like, you can die right now and keep your body. Why do you think you got to leave this physical body? You think it's going to fix itself? You're going to come right back anyways and play the same game. Like, let's handle this. There's nothing to run from. This doesn't have to be so challenging. It's like confront it head on. That's rebirthing yourself. And I hear of a lot of people that have been on verge of suicides actually that feel like they had a walk-in. You know, and you could describe that in any way that you want, but ultimately a limited psychological version of yourself was done living in that prison, was done living in that cube, was done living in that box, was done living in that geometry And so whether you would call it another soul that's come in or another being, it's like, it's all you. We separate ourselves out, we fracture ourselves so deeply that the idea of like the separation is, yeah. You know, so we're here to inherit this vessel, inhabit this vessel, to crack the old codes, to break the old patterns, to rewrite these mental instabilities, to rewrite these mental patterns, implants, thoughts, reactions. Yeah, really expanding the consciousness and really expanding your perception of reality to embody these new times. All right, you can talk about the 5th dimension, you can talk about the 13th dimension, you can talk about, we're talking about living it. This is what it looks like. This is what, to embody that. And you might still drive a car, you know, and you might still have a passport, and you might still get on an airplane, and you might still, you know, whatever. In my particular experience, it's looked like the dematerialization process. And it started with like, okay, I'm leaving behind medical systems, you know, I'm leaving behind monetary systems, I'm leaving behind government systems. I'm not just complaining about the systems, I'm like recognizing if I don't agree with them, I'm not consenting to them. And that is a rebellion of sorts. You know, but it's a very peaceful rebellion. And wow, when I start to talk about it, I can sense the level of attachment that is still ingrained in this dimension. So we're in the world, but we're not of it. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that mean? We are really starting to understand and access our inner dimensional consciousness and what it means, interdimensional. And so all of a sudden, it's like, you know, we grew up in a world that has been valuing our success based on the material plane and the financial plane. And like, if you're not achieving in the ownership, lordship, possession of material, you're not successful, right? Now we're moving into free energy. We're moving from the external to the internal. We're moving from the physical to the energetic. We start to loosen up. We start to let go. We start to lighten up. We start to levitate. We start to be less bound. We start to be less weighed down. We start to be less affected by gravity, waves, moon, thoughts. You talk about, when we were starting this call, I was talking about the battle for the soul. Well, having control over your mind, right? And understanding what thoughts are yours and what are not, and how to equip yourself, and how to identify those implants, how to identify those patterns, how to identify those limitations, you know, they get implanted in the mind, patterns, thoughts, frequency fields. You know, we're always in a constant level of detoxing and purification. And so the best way that we start to identify, extract, remove parasitic thinking or feeling is to bring it out in the open, to be able to see it, to not be in denial that it's there, and maybe bring it up to the light to start to reconfigure the self. And we are working with software. Our body is hardware and our mental plane is the software. And there are many levels to this operation. So yeah, levitation and defying gravity. Phase in, these are just notes that I have written down. Levitation, defying gravity, telepathic, plasma projection, phasing in and phasing out, dematerializing. Yeah, understanding time and space. I mean, we're just putting this all together. It's new for a lot of us to remember these experiences and to be able to put words to it, to understand what it means to be from the future, to bend time and space, to be working in timelines and specific coordinates on the planet, to collapse time, to rewrite code, to rewrite history, to rewrite the fall of a civilization, to rewrite a fall of Atlantis. Which, by the way, I don't think I ever finished saying, the idea of the fall of Atlantis. When I started to hear enough of it, it was like, oh, and they fell, their civilization fell, there was power and technology and experimentation with DNA and genetics and mixing humans and animals and cloning and sex with humans and sex with animals and programming of dark crystal technology, and our phones are dark crystal technology. And so yes, actually, our phones are dark crystal technology. They're liquid crystal displays. And so like at one moment I was like, oh, when you hear a story, like it's a history, like it happened long ago and you're thinking in linear time and it's like 12,000 years ago, or it's like whatever they told you. But then you're like, oh, we're in that right in this moment. We're in the correction of that. Same with the Christ and the Mary Magdalene. It's like we're looking at it like a history, like it was so far away, but oh, it's happening right now. Like we are the characters of it. It's like, this is how we actually start to understand the cosmic streams and beings, histories, timing constructs, whatever that technology and software really, or that technology and hardware that CERN's actually working with, that, they say they turn it off on the 29th or whatever. Let's just say that it does have to do with a level of gravity, a level of pull, a level of heaviness, a level of density. And so let's just say that, it represents a code word of a level of density that's being released so that we can even start to consider and open up our minds to these crystalline templates, to these perspectives of reality where we couldn't before, because a lot of times we carry the oppression and the weight of a race or family line or trauma or history. And so there's been like a constant replaying of that generational trauma, even that generational gene ration, aboriginal, AB original. Like I've really been thinking about the idea when you start to consider cloning and Clone Wars. One of the Star Wars has been coming in a lot lately. Yeah, Clone Wars and colonization and how that means cloning. It's like, this morning I watched a documentary and it was called The Song Keepers. And it was, I've been crying all morning. I thought I was going to be crying when I got on here, but now I'm feeling like the fire. This documentary is a part of what fired me up in so many ways, because what was being presented to me in this documentary were the indigenous tribes of Australia. And little did I know, around 1877, the German missionaries were coming to Australia. This might be like total common knowledge for everyone, but it wasn't for me. And so they were coming there and they were cloning, colonizing, breeding their DNA in these tribes ultimately. But it was masked as, them coming to teach their church and their ways and their songs. And so I guess somewhat of a beauty, but also of like a very telling story of the generations of these women who I could see have lived very hard lives. Humming and singing in their indigenous tones, the hymns of the Germans. And they were preparing for a concert where they were going to go to Germany and sing the hymns to the Germans. And it was like, I could feel the truth of what was really going on in the histories of the white men coming into these certain tribes and reservations and starting to breed and starting to come in and be like, oh, we'll help your family out. You don't have much, but we'll orphan your child and get them an education. And then there are other things going on. Shocker. Like this is the stuff that's like unavoidable at this moment. Everyone's talking about Epstein, and like it gets like very high traffic information that's around like pedophilia and the idea of trafficking and the idea of, it's very Hollywood looking. But if you go back and really study the histories of tribes and indigenous and aboriginals and the real stories there, you can, if you're open to inquire, you can start to see a little bit of a bigger picture. And multi-dimensional muse love the gene keys. I'm just looking at your things. Yep, you've been there too. Living hippie, off-grid, no money, no system life, surrender. Yeah, I'm not saying it's supposed to be like that forever too, where systems are just as we go through the eye of the needle, I am a visionary and I am a speaker for the renegotiation, the renavigation of resources to create the new spaces and places. This is for something more deep, you know, to start to understand the communion and the gathering of resources for all. And for me, I was being called like not to sell out as the individual, to start to speak for the whole of humanity on all levels, ending all poverty. It takes time, I know. And it's the vision, it's the mission, it's the future, and it's the invitation. You know, the ascension code in the gene keys is the number 54, and the shadow is greed. And so greed is the shadow of ascension. Greed is what is keeping us from ascension. So when we come in as the messengers of this truth, we're inviting this greed, you know, of the individual, of the nations, of the planet to rise up, you know, to rise up into the aspiration field, something to give for, something to live for, right? Is the spontaneous combustion. It's a heart frequency field that can boost us up into ascension. And so I already know where I'm going. You know, it was 5 years ago, I was called to leave behind banking systems and identification systems. And has it always been easy? No way. It's also put me in situations where I have been able to ask for and receive help and allow someone to contribute to helping us. Like when we receive a donation, you know, someone helps us with that. There's like a deep level of humility and gratitude with that. And with every one of those transactions, we're speaking the vision of expansion to something more collective, where we're moving beyond. This is all written in the 45. This is all written in the 45. So we're holding the gates of the shadow and the city through the gift frequency. You know, and the gift frequency, the heart frequency of your gene key is like the rainbow bridge. And there's nothing good or bad or right or wrong in the shadow or in the acidic frequency. Although oftentimes the acidic frequency is going to feel a level of bliss that the shadow is not. That's just how the energetics of the game works. But we're here to kind of pave the way, pave the rainbow bridge. This is about the world bridger frequency too. So it's like understanding that we are bridging worlds. And so there are some holding the world views of one way and some with the other, and somewhere in between there's like a meeting space. And actually, Marcus, if you want to pull up the kin for today, we'll go ahead and get that galactic synchronization in. It's number 206, Spectral World Bridger. And this is a white tribal day, so it's about the refining. We're in the warrior wave spell. So we've been in the warrior wave for 11 days now. We'll be wrapping it up in the next 2 days. So it'll be a 13-day cycle that we've completed of the magnetic warrior. And then we're going into the moon cycle, which will be about the purification. Yeah, so this is the galactic synchronization. And 206, kid number 206, white spectral world bridger. And this feels so real to what I'm feeling right now, actually, and very aligned with Gene Key's transits right now. These go in 260-day cycles. So 206, white spectral world bridger. I dissolve in order to equalize, releasing opportunity. I seal the sword of death with the spectral tone of liberation, and I'm guided by my own power doubled. And so you can kind of see, you can see the guide down there, the eagle, and harmonic 52, which I connect to Sirius and the cosmic storing. Remember the elegance of presence, the chromatic 69 yellow seed star. Nice. Yeah, so here's where we're rolling for today. And then tomorrow is 207 crystal hand, blue crystal hand transforming. This kin imprint, I connected 12/21/2012, which was the end of the Mayan cycle. The end of time. And it's also about healing and cooperation. So that's what we're rolling into tomorrow. So yeah, we'll finish up this wave, not tomorrow, but the next day with 208 Cosmic Star. And then I'll be meeting with you all on Monday, and that'll be the kickoff of the magnetic moon, the new 13-day cycle. Yeah, so if you follow these on a regular basis, no, I didn't see that Sirius activation. I saw you sent it, but I didn't get to watch it yet. But I always say, this is a serious mission. This is a serious mission. Ooh. Yeah, I always say we have Palladian DNA on a Sirius mission, SIRIUS. And we're in the genetic codes of the 38 and the 39 right now. So the Warrior of Light unlocks Sirius liberation. So the 39 we're in is the shadow of provocation. And so like, it's one of my North Node pieces. It's about provoking your own liberation and provoking things and thoughts and considerations that maybe you haven't perceived, before in your life. And these provocative ways of looking at and thinking about reality can start to bring you into a next level of liberation of the soul. So what we're talking about here is it's the living experience, direct living experience. I'm not telling you how to do anything. You do what you want. I'm just one living reflection, beaming and streaming, not here to sell you anything, just sharing my expression of this ascension process. What mysteries I'm finding as I dive in. Where surrender has led me. And the remembrance of working with the ether, with the plasma, with the non-physical, with the 0-point technology. And understanding a little more about genetics and DNA. How long is the video, Marcus? Is it like a long one, or is it just a little glimpse, or is it just a post? Let me know if you think we're supposed to share it. Warrior of light, feeling the transformation at a physical level, lots to embody and feel into as it all falls and rises. Good to hear from you, Natasha. Just reading your comment there. Yeah, we're working with wave mechanics. Nothing is personal. It's like you let it come, you let it go, you don't hold on, right? Like it's just, when you're in the ocean, it works like that. She never stops. She's in that constant fluid motion. So she's not holding on to anything. She's not making anything too concrete. It comes in, it goes out. It's like, boom. We do not keep anything too heavy. We're not holding on to something. That's the gift that we have when we remember we're in this seat, when we remember we're in this position. We're doing this for ourselves and for our fractal family. Oh yeah, I like that image. Oh, it's a post. Okay. Yeah, so we let the wave come, we let it go, we have fun. Don't get too slammed by the waves. Sometimes a wave will come in and it'll go over. We were just at the beach the other day and which what? Which image? Oh, it's a image of Sirius. See, I'm gonna read this. Yeah, so the manta rays, this image with the rose. And look at this gateway. Yeah, so we're in the ocean. I did not get to see them, but Eduardo was so excited that the manta rays came to visit him. And River, did you see them too? Did you touch the manta rays? Yeah, the manta rays are in the beach. This is an activation alone just to kind of see the Stargate portal. But yeah, let me see if I can read some of this and see what it says. Oof. Dogon tribe. And, the day out of time is July 25th. That's always a day that we invite people to gather with us, a day of no time here in Costa Rica. He's not here, River. Go in the more backspace, I think. And, okay, let's just read this. The Sirius Gateway is open. The Sirius Gateway is open, and we are now moving through one of the most powerful energetic passages of July. This sacred gateway begins as our sun comes into alignment with Sirius, our spiritual sun, allowing higher frequencies of light, remembrance, purification, and ascension codes to flow into the earth and into our spiritual physical bodies. Sirius has long been seen as a star of spiritual awakening, divine wisdom, higher consciousness, and soul remembrance. In ancient Egypt, Sirius was connected with the goddess Isis through her Syrian aspect, Sopdet, and its rising was associated with renewal, fertility, sacred waters, and the beginning of a new cycle. Here we are. This is the transmission. This is what we're bringing in right here, this gateway of allowing us to bring in more light, bring in more awakening, bring in more of the spiritual aspects, renewal, regeneration, right? New waters flowing, beginning a new cycle. In order to begin a new cycle, you have to end a cycle. It's just like if you were planting a garden and you have to harvest everything, right? You got to cut it all down to start the new growth. Okay, as we move through the Sirius Gateway and towards the 7-7 portal, many souls may feel like they are standing between timelines. You may feel transitional, emotional, sensitive, tired, inspired, restless, or deeply aware that something is shifting, even if you cannot fully explain what it is yet. That's why I try not to explain it if I don't have to. You just let it come, let it go, don't hold on, stay in the flow, release. It's a constant level, keeping the heart open no matter what. Breathe it through, release. Don't hold on to the heaviness. It's like being light, releasing all heaviness, releasing all density, lightening up is our service. Because when we find ourselves in that peaceful state, right, we bring peace to all around us, right? And so we impact the field in that way because everything we carry is a chain reaction. So we're usually out there as an energetic field, as a toroid, we can come into a space and we can improve it with our energetics, or we could bring it down with our heaviness. This is reality. This is responsibility. This is energetics. So everything we do goes out to the whole, and it starts with us internally, and then it starts with our very direct external aura, and then that goes out to a planetary level. So we're all called to do that work and to lighten ourselves up so that it's easy to come into the field with others, and that honestly the love and the compassion that we bring into the field lightens and purifies everything. This is angel wings, this is wings up. This is like levitating at a space and a place of more of the heart, where you're kind of rising above the gravitational pull. You're rising above the heaviness, rising above the lunar. You can be in it. You can be in and around it and maintain a level of levitation, a level of levitation in the midst of any storm. That's the I in the midst of all storms. We get back to the toroidal field. We get back to the 0 point. The whole idea of saying like, oh, I can't go into this, or they'll bring me down, or no, we're called to be able, this is real meditation. This is real yoga, to be able to hold a frequency force field in the midst of any reality. And that's called holding the field. And that is inviting the field to rise. That's beyond verbal condemnation or judgment. That is a very silent frequency resonance that comes in when you come in as a channel of light in any space. So the 7-7 portal is a divine code of awakening, spiritual mastery, soul purpose, and higher alignment. The number 77 carries the frequency of mystical wisdom, intuition, inner knowing, and multi-dimensional remembrance. This is a gateway where old timelines begin collapsing, your destiny begins realigning, and your spirit begins remembering what it came here to do. You may be feeling especially sensitive about your purpose, your personal direction. Your relationships, your gifts, and how you're meant to serve the world with your unique light. That is because your purpose is going through an upgrade. You're being lifted into higher ground, higher clarity, and a deeper level of soul embodiment. As our sun and Sirius align, waves of high frequency light can support creative inspiration, spiritual downloads, technological innovation, entrepreneurial vision, psychic awareness, emotional healing, and deeper connection with your higher self. Before the new influx of light fully anchors, the body and energy field may begin releasing what can no longer come with you. Release it all. Release all the anchors. Release what can no longer come with you into this new time, into this new cycle. It can feel like death. It can feel like transformation. It can feel, like exhaustion, pressure, emotional purging, strange dreams, body sensitivity, old memories resurfacing, or sudden clarity about what needs to change. Do not fear the release. The old is leaving because the new is arriving. The Sirius Gateway and 7-7 portal may assist us with transmuting dense energy from the body and the electromagnetic field, activating deeper soul remembrance, receiving light codes for your ascension journey, awakening spiritual gifts, psychic awareness, and divine intuition, restoring and upgrading the chakra system, light body, and DNA template, aligning more deeply with your soul purpose, birthing dreams into the new earth reality, releasing old timelines, contracts, and karmic patterns, accelerating manifestations and divine synchronicities, connecting with the goddess Isis, Mary Magdalene, the Rose Codes, and the Syrian Blue Ray, receiving guidance from Sirius angels, royal lions, and higher star families of light. This is all within you. These are all you, right? So this is when we understand multidimensionality and we understand that we're accessing new levels of genetics in our body beyond the history of this physical lifetime in our family lineage and any traumas. Where the real trauma is that we've disconnected from our origins, from our roots, from our celestial DNA. When we connect, when we remember that and we connect again to the celestial DNA, which means usually we need to be calm and relaxed in our nervous system and taking care of our vessel, on a mental, emotional, and physical level with the foods that we're eating and everything that we're digesting, right, then that starts to reconnect the grid to our origins, to our roots, to our eternal life, wisdom. We're not in a fear of death. We're not in a fear of disease. We're not confused about why we might have illness, sickness, disease, or pain in our body. We're in the responsible mode of becoming our own med bed. You know, we can observe and witness that our body will present illness, depression, sadness, stress when we are living out of alignment with our higher mission. Like, you see the difference in like diagnosing and treating something externally versus being like, oh, your body's not in tip-top shape. You're not in alignment. You're not in alignment with your cosmic roots. You're not in alignment with your cosmic DNA. You're not in alignment with your 12-strand DNA. So the reason why someone would be having some kind of nervous system situation, you could almost say it's like this stressful firing of the DNA trying to snap back or connect back to at least a 12-strand DNA structure, but it can't find it. It's almost like this constant electricity in the body that's bringing a level of like inflammation in the body, because we need to connect back to the roots of the electrical body, of the light body, of the 12-strand DNA and beyond. And this is not such a physical process. And you could go to a bunch of sessions and people can speak light language and tell you different things about it. But ultimately, in order to turn on your 12-strand DNA, we have to digest any remaining stories, limitations, traumas, gravities, negative ways of thinking and perceiving, victimization, in order to turn on the freedom cells. This is a galactic upgrade. Okay, so this also is a powerful rose activation gateway. The Sirius portal carries a deep connection to the divine feminine, the high priestess, the goddess Isis, Mary Magdalene, rose lineage, the Holy Grail, and the ancient mystery schools of Atlantis, Egypt, and the Magdalene Path. Sounds like all my favorite stuff. The Syrian blue ray comes to cleanse the old timelines. The rose frequency comes to awaken the heart. The Isis codes come to restore divine magic, resurrection, and spiritual sovereignty. The Magdalene codes come to awaken devotion, sacred love, Christ consciousness, and the Grail within. Many ancient priestess souls, light workers, star seeds, and guardians of the sacred waters are being called into remembrance now. You may feel the return of gifts you have carried before. You may feel connected to temples, roses, sacred water, blue light, golden light, lions, stars, pyramids, or ancient memories that do not feel like imagination. That is because your soul remembers. You have walked this path before. So, soul memory, reconnecting to the eternal life codes, reconnecting to our ancient wisdom, reconnecting to our divine original blueprint. I'm just hanging out here with my pants on. And here, I posted something the other day about a post. So with some of these words, it's like, I see a lot like declaring like they're the oracles and they're the priestess and the Magdalenes and all of the things, but I still sense this level of like superficial, hierarchical, personal importance, and really just inviting, like, the real next step is that we are all the goddess, we are all the priestess, we are all the oracle, we are all the mother, we are all the Magdalene. And the sooner that we remember that, because we need as many of that type of frequency on the planet as possible right now. So there's no pausing and stopping for any kind of like It's no different than someone being like, I am the return of the Christ. Yeah, there are many. This is a consciousness. This is an essence. This is a treasure chest. This is the Holy Grail. This is the remembrance. And it's quite honorable to remember and to receive and to embody, and just don't get caught up in the need for recognition or worship. We're coming into the phase where we're like all embodied, sitting at the table, communing with each other. So important. Really, the invitation. That is the next level. Missing in the spiritual community is a level of like superficial, everyone's still needing to sell and teach and master over, versus like ascended master reunions, where we're all coming together, beaming and streaming. And, if you're holding the one codes, so are they. And so now we're like all sitting in the room, equal measure councils. And wow, we can really do a lot with that equality and with that humility. And that is a great invitation for all of us right now, as we start to dance with these royal codes, that we come into balance and equality with each other. And if there's ever any remaining levels of competition, envy, jealousy, comparison, bitterness, these are self-inflicted wounds and poisoning that need to be digested and purified within yourself in the finalization of your embodiment, as well as not using the sexual energy and power to manipulate, control, entice, or tempt. Right? This is on the path of full ascension and coming into wholeness and embodiment. That, wow, we're inviting that level of leadership, that level of purification, that level of the goddess, that level of embodiment, that level of planetary service, that level of purity and angelic frequency. Yeah, this is the mission. This is the rise. This is the purification. This is the equality. This is the balance. I learned this from a Carlos Castaneda book that Eduardo introduced me to when I first met him. And I never did read the whole book. I opened it to a couple pages, and one said no personal history, and the other piece said no personal importance. And I was like, damn, that's enough for me. Simple as that. Zero personal importance. I come into the field with any and everyone that I meet. There is no sizing up. There is no comparison. There is no superior and there is no inferior, because I am whole. And now I'm coming to meet my other and invite them into wholeness in case they aren't already there. And yeah, we're just like, we're mirrors, really bringing us all back home into the wholeness. And that is such a beautiful field, and that's beyond any superficial nature, and so, wow, to be able to come together, that is the last missing pieces of the real 144 tribe, is coming together in humility to service to the greater mission beyond the self, to really model, embody the law of one, to bring it into physical council. And everyone has a seat at the table. That is a great invitation that we're calling in. So, okay, I'm going to read about the Ascension timeline rebellion. Give me just 1 second, I'll be back.
Imagine booking a soul session, ordering crystals, and joining a live retreat from your phone. For too long, finding the right healers, the right products, the right community has meant endless searching across scattered corners of the internet. That changes now. The Sacred Kingdom has arrived, an online hub where a worldwide directory of holistic practitioners, readers, life guides, organic makers, musicians, a crystal shop, books, and more are all waiting for you. Book one-on-one sessions, order products, and discover Kingdom members serving locally in your area, all from your fingertips, wherever you are, whenever you're ready. Stay connected to upcoming events and retreats, both online and in person. Tap into a YouTube channel built for real conversation, hands-on holistic learning, and free giveaways. And there's more coming: courses, programs, a holistic recipe book, and the Sacred Kingdom Mystery School Academy mentorship. This is a space built on love, compassion, and the belief that conscious living should be accessible to all walks of life. Visit thesacredkingdom.com, and if you feel called to build from within, email Marcus Crystallite at marcustut23@gmail.com about joining the Kingdom Council. The kingdom is open.
Yeah, so actually, this is a good time to remind you, tomorrow the website for the Sacred Kingdom comes out. And also to let you know, like, if you've ever felt the call to get your information out, to share, to create a podcast, this is a service that Marcus is producing and offering. Reach out to him. Yeah, this is the website launch: Awaken, Connect, and Transform. So creating a library of people that have services to offer of many different spectrums, and an ability to connect, sign up for services, list services if you're in the holistic healing or service realm. How do we start to streamline, unify, and prepare for the planetary awakening? As more people start to awaken, where do we direct them? Where do we guide them as they're awakening on their ascension and their multidimensionality journey? And so this is a beautiful space and place to start to connect the dots and bring the sacred kingdom, the sacred queendom together. Bring all of the many together in one, remembering our mission. So, and actually, I had so very grateful. One of my star brothers reached out for a session yesterday, and I love doing that. It's like, I take it serious. I like to study them and read them like a book before I get on the phone with them. And we can either do video or audio. And just kind of like put together some of their pieces, patterns, stars, and ultimately, though, just connect with where they're at right now and what's going on in their reality and what's going on in their life. And he did a good little summary yesterday of everything we talked about. We were talking about parasites, we were talking about holding the seed and semen retention, we were talking about the purification, the embodiment of the Christos, ascension, cleaning everything up, fasting, Hollywood shamans, superficial spiritual communities. And just bringing people, just we're rising together, right? And so that's a very enriching part of my one-on-one stuff that I love to do with people. If you're ever feeling the call for that, I do it by cosmic donation, and it's my honor to serve in that way. And we all have codes to share. We all have codes to exchange, and we're mirrors and reflections of each other. And so really inviting that mirroring and that remembrance of the divine, returning to the divine, remembering that we are divine, remembering that we're sacred, remembering the mission. So, okay. This was a topic that came up in my mind when I woke up this morning. And so I wanted to read you a little bit about it. It's called the Ascension Timeline Rebellion. And it's talking about historical timeline trigger events. And it's talking about negative alien agenda groups negotiating agreements for like slave workers, sex workers, slave colonies, galactic trading of Earth resources, reptilian ownership of Earth humans. Like, holy shit, right? All of a sudden you hear this and you're like, could it be so? Like, this is a much more galactic route, trafficking and slavery. You start to think of it more in that way, and it starts to help you understand a little more like where we're at as a species and what we're actually operating in. So, and with tomorrow being the 4th of July and Independence Day, I feel like knowledge is freedom, knowledge is power. And so we're starting to awaken to the truth of actual, and we're in Gene Key 39, liberation. We've been talking about liberation and freedom, the 39 and the 55. And yeah, so just bringing that in and kind of digesting and moving through this time period. We are living through a great transition and ascension process from a dark aeon to a new aeon. Many of the themes that were seeded by dark forces tens of thousands of years ago of human subjugation and enslavement are being reasserted in an attempt to maintain control. Their long-term goals were continuing with the negative alien agenda colonization strategies for enforcing reptilian ownership over human bloodlines, for carrying out their prison planet objectives, in which the intruders use human genetics as the currency exchange for on and off planet human trafficking, sexual slavery, and as products created for consumption. I mean, oof. Now you take human trafficking to a galactic level, right? And you start to understand a little more deeply. Earth became the most valuable real estate investment portfolio in the local solar system, filled with big business conglomerates, mining genetic resources, and extending into other planetary systems for bartering and trade that serve the interests of the invading races. As humanity is completing the timeline trigger events of the Ascension Timeline Rebellion, which manifested as the consciousness enslavement of human beings by those intruders that invaded our planet, the shackles of mental bondage connected to mind control transmissions, suppressing the Atlantean records, are beginning to dissolve. So, right, like let's even just imagine right now we are dissolving the mental bondage within ourselves. We are dissolving, we're becoming aware of and dissolving any and all mind control, any and all limitation, any and all limitations, any and all implants, imprints, histories, genetic impairments, mental bondage, mind control. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Bob Marley, Okay, so releasing the shackles of mental bondage connected to mind control transmissions, suppressing Atlantean records are beginning to dissolve. Awakening humans are at the crossroads in the organic ascension timeline, in which they are facing the next stage of the consciousness evolution cycle. That includes a newly discovered personal freedom to information that they did not have access to before. The historical timeline trigger events, galactic wars, and ages of humanity. So, destruction of human history. Through the management of human DNA and hybridization breeding programs, along with the intentional destruction of actual historical records, the negative alien agenda inserted false holographic timelines and false holographic identities for divide and conquer in order to hijack the collective co-creative consciousness for controlling the timelines, to ultimately thwart planetary ascension. This is why this period of 22,000 years ago is called the Ascension Timeline Rebellion, as the invaders began to work feverishly, negotiating an end of off-planet treaties and cultivating strategic alliances in order to terraform the planetary grid, gain control over human DNA, and manipulate the internal Templar system, gaining access into the all-beyond light body. Yeah, the reason that I was brought into this is because I was watching this documentary earlier today, and it was showing me the Australian Indigenous, and I was like picking up now on a history that I didn't understood existed about the German Lutheran Christians going over to these lands. And, the missionaries were like look like, you know, they make it look like they're saving and protecting and helping. But from a more galactic level, it's about breeding and experimentation and colonization or cloning. Innocent bodies of tribes have been being used as cloning facilities for a very long period of time. And then these women are impregnated with children, and sometimes they're just left to be a part of the tribe. And a lot of times they're, you know, adopted by a church family. And it looks like so sweet, right? And so honorable that somebody's like saving a child, fostering a child, helping a child in need and poverty. But unfortunately, a lot of times what's happening is it's child trafficking and it's sexual abuse and it's satanic ritual right under your nose, right in the middle of the church. This is not just a one-off situation. And the Mormons and the Catholics are trying to cover this shit up so hard. It is unavoidable at this point. Like, I think it used to just feel like a little bit of a gossip thing and something very taboo not to talk about, but it's like really coming out in the open, you know? So, yeah. Let's see what we're doing over here. Where are we at? So anyways, when I was watching that video and I was feeling the multidimensional levels of what was going on around all reservations, all tribes, all natives, all connected to churches, all connected to Germans, interestingly enough. You know, it's like, and then I think of the Rudolf Steiner organization, German, Austrian area, and like the Waldorf schools and like what they're really grooming and the secret society stuff that's actually happening behind the Rudolf Steiner and the Waldorf organization. Shocker. Yeah, I've been on that one I've been on the undercover mission of that one for the last 3 or 4 years. It's like, you can easily be blinded over by like these gurus and these monks and like all of these particular men that have been in positions of power that are feeding off of giving their people up and feeding off of the youthful energies. Yeah, masked as pure and holy. This is the real revelation, and the apocalyptic awakening kind of coming in right now is our facing of the truth of what human trafficking, slave trafficking, sex trafficking actually looks like, and orphan repopulation, and how basically we're all part of a lineage of that, especially if it's just a proposal at this point. Like, I mean, if anyone's the one with 100% certain, absolute 100 million% certain realities of what's gone on in our histories, I mean, this is just my proposal. This is just my dimensional perspective. Quantum, holographic, no time, no space, collapse all fields, reviewing all consecutive, future, past timelines simultaneous, you know, drawing a proposal of not 12,000 years ago, not 1 billion years ago. Like, time is not as it seems. And like, that is one of the first constructs to break through, is time and history in chronological order of things, chronological time. Chronological, you know, chrono is like time, and then logical, like, yeah, chronological. Linear time is a construct. The fourth dimension is the dimension of time. It's like a wheel, right? And it's like, if we sit at the center of that, there's no time, no space, and we don't make any one history the only reality, the only true reality. Like, a lot of us are kind of living in at least the last 2026 years, right? In the AD, Archon Deception timeline, which has to do with time. Can you hear River's little song over there? Bodicea. Bodicea, Bodicea, Bodicea. Oh my God, that's so cute. I love River's making some pin up right now. Okay. Okay. What was I talking to you about? I was bringing in orphan repopulation, Tartaria, the idea that there was a reset, the idea of Atlantis or Tartaria, or the idea that the United States was populated before, but within, let's just propose the idea of a consideration that within the last 150 years, that there was a wipeout of some sort, and there was a renegotiation, a renavigation of waters, and that there were military, aka alien, right? I know there's frontline human levels that have no idea they're participating in a multidimensional alien game, but it's something to consider here. Are we just waiting for the news from the White House? Are we just waiting for the, the gray alien in the glass container from Roswell? Are we going to get down into the truth of histories, roots, genetics, aliens, multidimensionality, interdimensionality? Like, this is where we got to make sense of this for ourselves, or we're just going to be told some kind of theory or theme. And so in my direct experiences of surrendering to the attachment world, to the material world, to what I was taught as history, really letting go of attachment and opening my mind to consider other possibilities. In my personal experience, not through channeling. I've never connected to another being. I've never channeled another entity. I've only just felt like after I had my near-death experience, that a gateway of sorts had opened for me, directly connected to source eternal memory. And that was when I was 33 years old. It was like the vaults and the library, the gateway access was open, but it took some time. I understand the cognitive dissonance to go from one physical human reality to the perceiving of a multidimensional reality, and all of the things as this information starts to be revealed and unveiled within yourself. Like, yeah, there's just so many distractions and so much misinformation out there on the World Wide Web, that worldwide spider web, that at least for me, it was like I was called to let go of a lot of those realities and just really sit in myself, sit in nature, and find myself through that way. And yeah, that's been my direct experience. I'm just kind of coming back into feeling comfortable enough to start talking about it, because I've definitely had my edits and audits and judgments about these topics, and the idea of like, oh, well, don't focus on the negative, like all of these things. I've lived in a reality where none of these concepts exist. But then I'm not looking away from the planetary world wounds that are coming out on the world stage right now, that are affecting the majority of the psyches of humanity, and being able to like make sense of what's being put out there so that we're not as confused. Because there is like an intentional level of confusion going on and hijacking in the field as we turn on and access the configuration of our original memory. So Tartaria is just a timeline. It feels like the most real, so recent perception of reality for me. The first time I ever heard of the World's Fair, like it did just kind of come to me in an algorithm. Yeah, I was always listening to Willy Wonka and the song Pure Imagination. One of my favorite movies growing up was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And, especially the part where they get to the whole candy thing. They've got like the amanita mushroom with like whipped cream in it, and like the chocolate river, and it's all the seven deadly sins, and yeah, the whole thing. But anyways, I love that song. Come with me and you'll be in the world of your imagination. I haven't sang it in a while, so I'm not picking it up perfectly, but you know what I mean. World of pure imagination and chocolate rivers, which made me think of the cow. But anyways, why was I taking you there to the world of pure imagination? Oh, because one day this documentary rolls up with the guy, Gene Wilder, from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And it's talking about the World's Fair, the Chicago World's Fair of like 1892. It's supposedly like the 500-year celebration of Christopher Columbus. I don't know what we're celebrating there. Yeah. This is where you're like, okay, what is history? What is true? You know? And so that little 2-hour whatever like broke my reality a little bit. Me and Eduardo were watching it like, oh shit, like now we're working with something. For the first time, I'm asking questions like, why do all these beautiful architectures exist and why can't we build them now? You know, forget the basic pyramids of Egypt, like in those little triangle, like deserts with no life force, but like, let's get real about these round rotundas and these paintings of angels and these marble pillars and granite floors and these fake histories where you just see a bunch of like dudes that look like they built it, but then you're like, no. And one day I came into the perception of reality, like I was searching for some document. I'm always in the research mode, you know, sometimes I'll just get an inquiry, like look up this or dive into this. Like the other day I was looking up, is moon connected to CERN? You know, and then it's like, it's kind of crazy what's brought in from a question like that. I don't use the AI exactly. I still did just like do it in a general search, but yeah, it was enough to kind of bring me some data and some information to consider. So anyways, with the whole Tartaria concept, it was like, wow, that does make sense to me. Where did all these beautiful buildings come from? What is the true history and the mystery of this? Was there a lost civilization? Was there something destroyed? Well, let's check it out. You know, these spirals and stones and, oh, this is Atlantis anyways to me, like right here in the United States of America, north, south, east, west anyways. Do you want to play this, Marcus? Or were you just want to show
at the old buildings and wondered, why are the windows buried underground? Why do ancient structures look more advanced than the ones we build today? Now, what if I told you, history ain't what we were taught? Let me tell you about Tartaria, a forgotten civilization that may have once ruled the world all across the earth. Massive buildings, domes, spires, same style, same purpose, everywhere. This wasn't chance. This was a global connection. Unified design, unified knowledge. They say these people used clean, unlimited energy, and they lived in harmony. But then something happened. A great reset. Tartaria was erased, not just from the maps, but from our minds. We're told these buildings were made by folks with horses and wooden carts. But take a closer look. Do you believe that? We've been lied to, friend. The question is, why? Follow for part 2. We're just getting started.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, something comes in and it's like alert, public broadcasting system, you know, and it's like this cognitive dissonance in your reality. You're like, damn, I am awakening to a new level of remembrance. I'm questioning my reality. I'm questioning history. I'm questioning anything that I've been told, you know, and then you get more curious, like, For me, I probably found this around 5 or 6 years ago. And so there was like a hunger, and I know a lot of people like dive, they call it the rabbit hole and conspiracy theories and all of the things. And the first thing that I put together before I ever saw it written somewhere was I was like, oh my God, every Capitol building of the United States, like wherever they've been labeled, wherever the borders are drawn, whatever they've determined is like, oh, this is Jackson, Mississippi, this is Orlando, Florida, this is blah, 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 this is, these headquarter spots, they all have one of these royal art looking structures, which you'd call Tartaria. In this AI video, it says Tartaria, but sometimes when I talk about Tartaria, people will be like, oh yeah, the Russians and Russia, but no, people are like, when was Tartaria? And I'm like, that's just it. You have to break time. You have to break history. You have to break your relationship to time to perceive the idea of this being an existent simultaneous reality right now. And there's just a bit left of the architecture to remember. It's a part of the transmission. We got River with the galactic sounds back here. Yeah, so that's what I started to put together, was these headquarters locations that are called Capitol buildings that are used for governing, but also have like what I perceive. Number one, underground travel stations below. Number two, sarcophagus types of technologies where you can like teleport or time travel. I believe they have those technologies within them. Like, I mean, they're super high security and they're controlled by the military. So like, I mean, you can't really go in there and show that. But that when you take and understand that all government is actually galactic, and that there are a lot of people that look like they're in very human positions with meat suits that know very well that they're operating a negative alien agenda. This is not just conspiracy. This has been happening for ages. A lot of these people in these positions of power and control, not a lot, every single one of them, have sold their soul, to a particular race. This is why I say we're multidimensional beings and we have access to all of the races within our genetics, within our DNA. And so we decide if we're embodying a self-serving reptilian Draco agenda or a life-giving Mother Christos, law of one service to all agenda. Like there are multiple variations of what we might call a new world order. So you could see in the concept, a proposal of considering a timeline of a Tartaria is like something very much more aligned globally, right? Not just separated out by continent. If you could say it was very united, very Pangaian. And all of a sudden now this rewrites histories and mysteries about tribes, about natives, about indigenous, about genetics, about cloning, right? Because we're taking everything to a galactic level. And so then you can see the earth and the destruction of planets and the red dirts and the deserts. And you're like, damn, we're walking through some war zones. Missing water in any one location is not normal. Anywhere that is a desert now, there's likely that is an indication, number one, of military, aka alien water manipulation with dams, and also likely there are underground systems, very detailed, very intricate, much more expansive than we could possibly perceive, that are under the ground. And that's why we're not seeing water and greenery, life above the ground. Plasma, life force. And so we've come to a point, like when you start to think of like galactic destruction, galactic slavery, human trafficking, human slavery, and mining the earth for resources, it's like we've become pretty normalized to the idea that there's just a few trees around these days for the most part. The forests are dwindling. And there's some kind of strange justification for, and the whole idea of like, oh, but I'm reforesting. You know, I'm gonna plant 100 trees. We're gonna cut this master one that's been here for over 100 and something years, that's very rooted in the ground, and but we're gonna plant 100 basic, you know, whatever's, and in the next 100 years they'll grow if there's ever a human left on the planet to even observe and witness that. So now we're like really coming, like it's the rubber meets the road as we come from the celestial roots and origins of like the Ascension Timeline Rebellion of like, wait a minute, we're not here to destroy a planet. We're not here to mine the planet for resources. We're not here for trafficking humans. We're not here for human slavery. And so, yeah, Declaration of Independence and the idea of freedom and liberation. It's interesting, the Statue of Liberty is coming to mind. It's crazy because, you know, people will tell me that the Statue of Liberty is connected to Lucifer. And I'm like, okay, I have a connection to the Statue of Liberty. Number one, I don't believe the history that she was like given to the United States by France and that she was moved across the sea and assembled in the United States. I just, I don't believe that. 2 or 3 years ago, but I can't recall exactly, on the 4th of July, when I woke up in the morning. Oh, this is a cool pic for you to pull up, Marcus. I pulled every 4th of July, I do this. I'll do it tomorrow. I pull up the Statue of Liberty. I put Statue of Liberty, Star Fort, and I observed and I remember and I witnessed the idea of this robed being holding a pillar of lights, standing on a star fort. And there is a chain around her ankle, in case you didn't know, and it's broken. You know, so she's holding this torch light and she's holding a book. I believe it says July 4th, 1776. Yeah, there's information stored in the, what do you call that? Statues. Anyways, so the day that I woke up on the 4th of July a few years ago. I look up the Statue of Liberty on the Star Fort. I look up the broken chain on her ankle. I get out of the shower and I have an ankle bracelet that had been on my ankle. It was made out of tiger's eye and amber, and it broke off my ankle, like right after I looked at this picture. And I was like, whoa, okay, the goddess of liberty. Excuse me, a little cough here. And a big truck here. So just let this go by. Let me clear my throat. Okay, the goddess of liberty. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, you have a better video. I just saw that you wrote that. So maybe we'll touch it in a minute or the next time, but we'll see. Okay, goddess of liberty. And it's interesting, you know, my mom's last name, my mother's maiden name is Ellis. And so this gives a whole, like once I started learning about orphan trains and orphan repopulation and just considering the idea as a piece of this history, I was like, I saw Ellis Island as something a little different. You know, I saw it as a repopulation timeline. And I was like, oh my God, my mom's maiden name is Ellis. My grandfather, you know, my grandmother, like they're carrying this Ellis name, Ellis Island repopulation, the idea that there was an orphan repopulation, that war was actually about, you know, taking children of many races from one land, one location, and moving them to another and repopulating and adopting these children or giving these children to particular lords. And ultimately, like starting to open up the United States historical timeline, the Masonic timeline of converting nature for money, of human slavery, of farming. So pretty much each and every one of us, if you really drive deep into it, you know, can probably had a farmer family 3 or 4 generations ago somewhere. Could be wrong about it, but just think about it for a minute, you know? Nobody really knows where they came from. Oh, you sent your DNA to 23andMe, you think they know? Like, they're covering up a lot of what's really going on. They're wanting to see where everybody's settled. You know, they understand from the higher ups of the organizational structure, there is an understanding that, you know, many DNAs were mixed into pots and kind of put into certain locations to kind of see what would happen. All right, so Goddess of Liberty is the spokeswoman for the karmic board and representative of the second ray on the board. She is the hierarch of the Temple of the Sun. Her etheric retreat over the island of Manhattan, New York. She holds the God consciousness of liberty for the earth. Embodiments, the Goddess of Liberty personally liberated millions of souls on a number of planets prior to her ascension. She was also embodied as a member of the Amazonian race, a people of great stature, whose women ruled an ancient civilization where the Amazon basin now is. During her embodiment upon Atlantis, she erected the Temple of the Sun where Manhattan Island now is, patterning it after the solar temple and the great central sun. The central altar was dedicated to the threefold flame of the liberty of the Christ, which proceeds from the white fire core of being, focused by beloved Alpha and Omega. This shrine was surrounded by 12 lesser shrines by representatives of the solar hierarchies, who together the Goddess of Liberty invoked on behalf of the evolutions of the earth, the spiritual radiation of the sun behind the sun. Yeah, Natasha, I see your comment, Cabbage Patch Kids, exactly. 23andMe is just a clever tracking system. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? This whole game is a little trickster. You pay them to get mind controlled. You play, everyone's like, we were free energy. And now it's like, no, pay for your phone, pay for your electricity, pay for your water, pay for your work to pay to live on a planet. And you're like, who owns this planet anyways? Who's sitting in the throne? Who's putting the price on this or that energy? You know, who's playing gambling games with the Mother Earth and her gold, her oil and her people, human resources? Oh, you're a resource to be bought and sold? Yeah, dodge the hijack there. So we're just waking up, right? It's super fun when you start to consider this. This means open for anything, like literally open for anything. Central Sun, and we read the Sirius activation. Exactly, Alcyone comes to mind as well. So Temple of the Sun, Great Central Sun. Yeah, 23andMe is a clever tracking system. Now, it is interesting. My sister did it. And so she was telling me, oh, we have these roots and it's connected, you know, ultimately, like we connect back to some Scottish histories, mysteries. But yeah, I could kind of see what was going on in all the snapshots that she sent me about different family lineages and genetics and all of it. Nothing is as it seems. Yeah, genetics and cloning has been happening for a very long time. Clone Wars has been happening for a very long time. Let's see. Did we cover everything about this page? Is there more in here? Yeah, the Goddess of Liberty. Maybe you can show, like look up Goddess of Liberty. You know what I'd love to look at? Just goddess statues, you know? There are always statues of a powerful feminine with a sword and a shield and balanced scales and like books. It's like every time I see that, it's like orgasmic. You know, like that reminds me of something. Like I remember, like I almost forgot, but I remember. And it's like, it feels like a level of Sophia wisdom, of redemption, of the feminine's return, of the power, of, you know, the balance of things. Yeah, it was like frozen in time. And it's like the resurrection. So anyways, I like to see, oh, let's go here. Hold on, I see this. Great central sun. The great central sun, also called the great hub, is the center of the cosmos. You know, and my buddy I was talking to, my star brother, yesterday, he was saying that he remembered that he came from the center of the universe, right? This is very aligned with this, the great central sun. We all call it maybe different names, but the point of integration of the spirit matter cosmos, the point of origin of physical spiritual creation, the nucleus or white fire core of the cosmic egg, the God star Sirius, is the focus of the great central sun in our sector galaxy. The spiritual sun behind the physical sun in the center of the universe is not as it would seem. In back of the physical sun, it is congruent, superimposed upon, but in another dimension. Man's own causal body is a miniature replica of the great central sun. Now that I call your causal body is connected to your heart chakra. And that is the breakthrough that needs to take place, the causal body that allows our higher dimensional spheres to come down. Moreover, every atom in manifestation is built upon the same pattern of energy spirals, evolving spheres within spheres. The color bands of the great central sun, as well as the atom, are planes of God's consciousness, differentiated only by their frequency or vibration. The white fire core is the focus of spirit becoming matter, and matter becoming spirit. I say that's the involution and the evolution. Thus, in the hub, the center of the spirit matter cosmos, and in every heart of every atom, the spiritual sun and the physical sun coexist. Here in the white fire core, the simultaneous manifestation of spirit and matter provides the necessary components for creation. Here and only here can creation be born. 11 concentric rings around the core of God's being, these together with the center make up the 12 planes of consciousness found in the atom of God, the 7 outer rays and the 5 secret rays. And Natasha said, have you heard about Fringe series? We found a streaming site, pretty amazing, disclosure, etc. No, you can send it to me if you want. I'm curious if you want to send me anything. Much love to you, Shannon. Yeah, tell me more about Fringe or how I access it, and I'll check it out. And we're the Fringe, right? We're the disclosure. We are remembering. We're not just here to eat our popcorn and watch something that's being entertained to us either. Like this is not fantasy. This is reality. This is not fiction. This is not conspiracy. This is the living truth. And yeah, and you're not crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like people are I'm realizing like no wonder why I needed to step out of society to be able to start to embody this perception of reality, because if I was surrounded by groups that were totally indoctrinated, they would just think I'm crazy. And so I needed to hermit in order to experience and expand and remember without any external perception of judgment and craziness or out there or whatever, and like really come into the deep soul remembrance and embody this as truth and live to tell and to be a messenger of light and a gatherer of the others who are here to embody these truths as well. Wow, early 2000s on Hulu. Cool. Isn't that crazy? It's 2026, so that's actually so long ago, you know, in the idea of time. So supposedly tomorrow is the 250-year birthday of the United States of America. And I always say 1776 was the death of Tartaria. You know, Liberty Bell comes to mind, the bells. Yeah, so we live to tell, we live to remember. We start to expand our mind beyond what we've been told in the limited his stories. we start to remember the Library of Alexandria that is within us, that is within our DNA. Alexandria, even like DNA, you know, I want to like actually take the word Alexandria, and I know it says DNA in it, but it definitely says some other things too. Yeah, awakening. Why you needed to stay alone in Mexico so long, right? Yeah, now we're connecting all the grids together. We're remembering. This is so fun. You know, share yourself, be yourself, express yourself, accept yourself, be yourself, authentic expression, authentic embodiment with peace, love, and compassion. And yeah, bring everything into harmony everywhere you go. And the 39 is the great unlocker, the great unblocker. It's provocative. It's a provocation. It's the tension of transcendence. Sometimes transcendence feels a little tense. Sometimes like the conflict or the standing up towards, against, you know, like it breaking the reality, dissolving old constructs, expanding your mind beyond like medical systems and financial systems and government systems and the way we've been taught, and historical systems. It's like, oof, digest, release, flush down the toilet. That's always an interesting consideration. You know, in Tartaria, they had all of these great building structures, but no toilets. And it's like every time I look at a toilet and it says American standard, and it's just like, wow. Yeah. We weren't building waste management systems under the earth where we were literally like holding capsules of shit, like a little succubus, like underground energy, like black magic. That's what cemeteries and waste management systems are doing from an energetic frequency perspective. You know, it's like the underground parasites in the mother's body. So, you know, eventually we return to the idea, number one, we lighten up in our consumption of things. You know, like our trash production is the same as our shit production. You know, it's like as much as we consume and it is as much as we shit out, right? As much as we consume is as much trash as we produce. And so as we start to become more responsibility and aware, responsible and aware of our footprint, of our carbon footprint, you know, and our consumption of things, and we start to return more to a free energy type of civilization or consciousness, of course, that naturally reflects in the external. So we're going from the external to the internal. You know, we've gone as far out as we can, and now we're coming back in. It's the involution. And yeah, so here we are. The waste production is out of control, right? I mean, I remember in my Texas neighborhood, you know, we had massive, huge trash cans. They were picked up every single week. Like here, you have to pay for your trash to be picked up. Like I have to pay with little coins. Maybe it's like $1 or something. But it might take me 3 weeks to fill a, you know, a trash bag because I don't consume much, you know, and a lot of that's probably like, you don't flush toilet paper here in Costa Rica. And that's always an adjustment for people when they come here. But think about it, you know, otherwise that stuff is just kind of sitting under the ground, like subsurface with chemicals. And yeah, it's just a really interesting creation. We live in a really shitty reality sometimes. Yeah, exactly. Composting. You know, and we started to come into the reality of that compost. First of all, people are afraid of their own shit and urine when they can actually be used as the most perfect fertilizers. You know, that's a big shift in the perception of reality. So, Eating a little orange here. Fruits and the colors of the rainbow. I think that's all I got for now. Coming up on the weekend for everybody. Tomorrow is Independence Day. Let freedom ring, let the white dove sing. That used to be one of my favorite songs by Martina McBride. Let freedom ring, let the white dove sing. Let the whole world know that today is the day of a reckoning. Wow. Let the weak be strong, let the right be wrong. Roll the stone away. Let the guilty pay. It's Independence Day. Yeah, that song, looking back, I mean, I was singing it when I was a young girl, but I didn't understand the story. Like, she was basically being raped and abused as a child by like a drunk stepfather or something, father. Crazy story. Anyway, so we're moving into the liberation, the freedom timeline. We are not here to fake this shit. We need as many freedom warriors as possible by holding. Oh yeah, you want to play that Tartaria video? That's the perfect way to close it down. Yeah, so I'm gonna close it down and send much love to all of you, and we'll pick back up on Monday. If you've been feeling the call to do any into the mystic work with me, send me a message. I do everything by cosmic donation, and every bit helps and matters and helps us on our journey and our basic needs of, like, you know, fluoride-free toothpaste if I can find it. You know, soap for natural soap for washing our clothes, fruits. So let's exchange and help each other out where we can. Keep it flowing. And yeah, let's unlock the truth of the mystery, revealing the mysteries and the histories of Tartaria. I'm telling you, in Tartaria, you didn't hear gas guzzling trucks like that, you know, for an example, that were like destroying the earth and using fossil fuels. Like, that just wasn't, yeah, free energy, ether, smooth. Yeah, love you too, Natasha. I do Wednesday afternoons and Fridays at this time as well. So see you in the next perfect moment. And they're always available recorded either in YouTube or usually on my page to check out. And yeah, much love to all of you. And let's close it out with this. Oh, that's what I want to tell you. One day I was Googling something and I found AIA. And I was like, it had 144 pages. It was a document online. It had 144 pages. And I was like, ooh, what is this? And I go and I click on it and it says AIA, American Institute of Architecture, right? AIA. So I pick up this document and I start scrolling through it. And it has a list of all of these, I'm going to call them black hat invaders. You know, and there's supposedly all of these lists of these American, what did I say? AIA, American International Architects or something like that. But I was thinking of it like AI architects. And so anyways, I went and I started looking at these dudes' names. What did they build? When did they build it? And it's like, you know, it's these very pompous, looking men. But apparently they built all these goddess statues, you know, and you're like, that dude didn't build that goddess statue. That architect, you know, did not build the Washington, D.C. That dude did not design that, you know, and that's like when you start getting into the idea of founded on blah, 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 established on blah, 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 Freemason, right? Freely taking over the Masonic, like what was already built, right? And then the histories come in and it's like, oh, this dude built it. Like, if you're just willing to question things a little bit, you start to Talk about the rabbit hole. Like, I didn't really watch a bunch of videos. I just got the concept in my mind. And then I started asking, questing, and digging into my own research. And I was like, wow, that actually does make sense. Oh, nice. I haven't been there in a while. And the only reason, like, somehow in the research, it just popped up. And I was like, oh, and then I dug a little deeper, and you start looking at all of these heritage, and they're all UNESCO, and you're like, oh, okay. Oh, interesting. Insurance companies always have a lot to do with it too, just covering up histories and mysteries. So yeah, thanks for dropping those in there, Natasha, AIA. You just take a little time with the reality of truth and consideration that not everything is as it seems, and history is not what it seems, and you can break this thing apart for yourself. And that is the only way to do it. Is like, don't take my word for it. Do your own research and follow your curiosity, See you, Shannon. Have a beautiful day. All right, so we'll just drop it. We'll close it out with the final Tartaria. Tartaria. Thanks, Marcus. We'll see you all on Monday.
In recent years, there is a narrative about a country that has vanished from history's pages. A nation that was once well known across the world is now lost in the sands of time. Tartaria, Tartary, or Grand Tartaria, has perplexed web academics digging through antique maps dating back to the 15th century. The Tartar Empire is a mystery to historians. The empire was first mentioned in the year 635 by a Byzantine historian, Procopius of Caesarea. He mentions that the emperor of the Tartars had been defeated by Chosroes of Persia, and his son Kavad, Gangu, had been captured. He writes that the emperor's name was unknown, but he knew that he ruled over an empire with many tribes and provinces. He also knew that they were located in what we know as Eastern Europe, Western Siberia, and Central Asia today. What is now known as Tartary is not an easy place to get to from Constantinople, so it is unclear how Procopius got all this information about them, if he never visited these lands himself, or if he did, why he didn't mention. Fasten up and join us as we investigate the beginnings of the mighty Tartarian Empire, proof of a lost empire. Tartarian's existence is founded on 4 pillars. From the mid-13th century through the 19th century, Tartary was a general word encompassing northern Asia, including modern-day Russia, the remains of civilization, according to Tartarian truthers, rather than a general word relating to different people groupings. Another crucial component of this idea is the mudslide, the subterranean window wells and cellar entrances of houses from the period are cited by Tartarian conspiracy theorists. The architectural styles known as Beaux-Arts and Second Empire are the most extensive proof of Tartaria. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, architecture was renowned internationally. Surprisingly, a tendency known as brutalism emerged shortly after these forms, in which buildings were constructed only as utilitarian constructions that were frequently exceedingly boring. According to Tartarian truthers, our civilization was not evolved enough to establish the Beaux-Arts style, so we repurposed these artifacts from an old society. The theory's final edge is constructed by modifying texts from the Christian Bible to suit the theorist's needs. These explanations are a little shaky, but they aid in the development of more imaginative theories. Was the history or Tartaria deleted? According to Wikipedia, Tartaria was a generic word for the Tartars, and Europeans had little understanding of them. But the book written by Giovanni da Pian del Carpine in 1252 contains a considerable study on the Tartars and their kingdom, theoretical levels. The Tartarian legend has numerous levels. The first, nearly common element is that a powerful empire in northern Asia has perished through the passage of time. The second hidden tier is that this empire ruled over the whole planet, establishing a one-world or almost one-world governance. The final level is that this empire was not only vast but also technically sophisticated. They possess technology unlike anything we can fathom, and society's design demonstrates their enormous capabilities. The variants of the theory are intriguing to say the least. Tartary had its own language, flag, crest, its own emperor, and of course its own people universal language. Tartary, a vast country in the northern parts of Asia, bounded by Siberia on the north and west. This is called Great Tartary. The Tartars who lie south of Muscovy and Siberia are those of Astrakhan, Circassia, and Dagestan, situated northwest of the Caspian Sea. The Kalmyk Tartars, who lie between Siberia and the Caspian Sea. The Uzbek Tartars and Moguls, who lie north of Persia and India. And lastly, those of Tibet, who lie northwest of China. Encyclopedia Britannica. Greek mythology, Tartarus is both a deity and a place in the underworld. In ancient Orphic sources and in the mystery schools, Tartarus is also the unbounded first existing entity from which the light and the cosmos are born. In the Greek poet Hesiod's Theogony, c. 700 BC, Tartarus was the third of the primordial deities, following after Chaos and Gaia, Earth, and preceding Eros, and was the father, by Gaia, of the monster Typhon. According to Hyginus, Tartarus was the offspring of Aetha and Gaia. Roman mythology. In Roman mythology, Tartarus is the place where sinners are sent. Virgil describes it in the Aeneid as a gigantic place, surrounded by the flaming river Phlegethon and triple walls to prevent sinners from escaping from it. It is guarded by a hydra with 50 black gaping jaws, which sits at a screeching gate protected by columns of solid adamantine, a substance akin to diamond, so hard that nothing will cut through it. Inside, there is a castle with wide walls and a tall iron turret. Tisiphone, one of the Erinais who represents revenge, stands guard sleepless at the top of this turret lashing a whip. There is a pit inside which is said to extend down into the earth twice as far as the distance from the lands of the living to Olympus. Tartarians cover-up. Tartarian researchers claim a slew of incidents as proof of a cover-up campaign for Tartaria's dominion. Most late 19th century battles were viewed as attempts to demolish most of the surviving buildings. Followers also look at World's Fairs from the same time period and infer that the magnificent structures erected for these occasions were not constructed. Instead, these were Tartarian standing buildings. Governments aiming to obliterate Tartaria from history constructed the World's Fair in such a way that they could demolish these structures without raising suspicion. Last words. Tartarians' notion is extremely intriguing. If accurate, it would cast doubt on much of history and modify our perceptions of ourselves. However, many of the reasons in favor of such a society are based on speculation. As fascinating as it would be to have preceded us by a highly advanced race of giants, we need more evidence to support this theory. Questioning is an essential component of research. All major discoveries stem from a desire to learn more, a knowledge that what we know is insufficient, curiosity, and a desire to learn more about issues about which we know little is a positive thing, but it shouldn't lead to haphazard guesswork. That is why the scientific process exists. You double-check facts and data, peer review papers, discuss hypotheses with experts, and have academic conversations. It's quite intriguing to say the least. As a result, we'll leave it up to you to determine what you think of this long-lost kingdom. Stay tuned for more next time. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up icon. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications for new videos.